Hello everyone and welcome back to the Cyclocross Social Podcast. We're back in Hulst, a few steps further forward than yesterday, but you can still see the struggling riders in the background, although there's not that many on course left. It's 3:30, the training is coming towards an end after the mixed relay, 13 countries, and the overall consensus was quite positive. A lot of the countries who've been doing this already many times are starting to feel like it's a real event with more countries participating. Patrick, thank you for being here to discuss it with me.
Yeah, thanks, Noah. We've definitely seen it grow over the last few years. I think this is probably the most entries we've seen.
Yeah.
And also you're starting to see tactics kind of evolve. After last year's win with Great Britain running Zoe Backstedt first and kind of putting her in an open air, now you see more teams doing the same things. You're getting an interesting dynamic happening.
Yeah, Belgium and France were the most notable countries to do that, Denmark and Spain as well, but they never really featured at the front, so I think that's immediately a good talking point to start with. Those tactics, it's kind of evened out and eventually in the middle of the race, but in the first lap you had Italy at the front with the Netherlands. They had nearly the identical strategy, and then you had kind of going out of sync Great Britain as they've done in all their years, and again, like all years, it brought them quite a success. So we Backstedt, the first rider to go, and she was with Fleur Moors from Belgium and with Célia Géry from France. I thought it was interesting to see that Backstedt was first the third of those girls and woman, and then moving her way past them at the end of the lap, with Moors falling a little bit further back than we perhaps expected, and Géry hanging quite close to Backstedt. And that tactical aspect, like, this is also the risk of it, right? Like, going out of sync only works if you're fully out of sync. Now with 3 it was okay, but if next year more countries move to that and all do it, then it becomes more beneficial to send the strong men first.
Well, I did see in the second lap that there was kind of a bottleneck at I guess it's the second run-up. So, I mean, you were still seeing that the teams that ran their fastest men first were kind of all together into the second lap, and into that run-up, one guy gets off the bike, all of a sudden 3 guys are off the bike. So it's interesting, and we'll see kind of in the next few years if we see tactics change and different things happen. But it's cool how this event is kind of evolving. It's becoming more legit, I think I would say. Putting a $15,000 purse on, or a 15,000 euro purse on it, that's going to attract a lot of teams to run their best riders, and we saw that today.
Well, and with that, I think the bottleneck, that's also one thing. Like, strategies won't necessarily work on all the courses. Like today you saw, for instance, the French, they went out of sync, and then when they really got on their steam, on this course it's harder to make those passes than we've seen in previous years. And for instance, the big run-up, the second one, the shoot kind of coming off the bridge, you saw there, of course, there was the crash. The Dutch, Isis Versluis, had more speed than Sarah Casasola, who was in the lead. Crash, fell down a bit, they held each other up there. And in the background, you saw a lot more of that. For instance, the French coming in quite hot after one of their riders was catching 2 women, but then needed to dismount and kind of shoot across aggressively to avoid hitting them, because they were kind of shocked by the speed differential throughout the race.
Yeah, and talking about speed, I mean, this course is still holding up. It's still pretty quick. Rain is expected tonight. Whether or not that's going to slow it down, I'm not sure, but
it's actually about to rain in 20 minutes, and some drops coming already. So.
Yeah, the host broadcaster is out here putting their garbage bags all over all the microphones, so it's on its way. But it was quick today. And it's not slippery. You didn't see much in the way of people sliding out. The course isn't greasy at all. It's pretty tacky. But is that going to change tomorrow?
If this rain comes overnight, then definitely for the first race of the day. Afterwards, it will depend. Like where we were in Ghent this morning, the sun was out, it was blue. But here, it's been overcast. The course has not really changed that much. You can see this is the corner where we were yesterday. It's more rutted already. And it doesn't take, like we said yesterday, that much. Like a few drops of rain can be enough to make this corner, which is now most riders on the Griffo or Flandrian thread. The Small Birds thread is coming out for the Dugast riders, for that matter. And that can change quite quickly to where you want that more profile to be having more grip in these sections. But if we focus on the battle for the win in the mixed relay, before we, as always at the World Championships, ask us what does this mean for the next event, we had a duel between the Netherlands and Italy, the 2 countries we expected before this race started. The Netherlands won. I don't think Italy really had anything go wrong. You could say, well, Casasola, that junior woman from the Netherlands, Isis Versluis, was with her very long. But ultimately, at the end of the lap, Versluis blew up quite spectacularly and still lost 20 seconds. The rest, the Netherlands, I think, just had a slightly stronger squad. Italy did the best they could. And I don't really think anybody put a foot wrong in that team.
No, I don't think so. I think it's basically a matchup between riders at that point. Running Tibor Del Grosso last, I mean, the Netherlands put themselves in a great position to have him go out, run a super hot lap, and there's not much you can do to counter that.
Shirin van Anrooy also coming at the end of the race there. Like, that's two really strong riders that you have after. So they, at that point, were slightly out of sync with Italy, right? Italy sent Casasola first, then they went fastest woman, middle woman, slowest woman. And then in the end, their women under 23 and women junior, Pellizotti and Ferry put roughly the same lap times. And the Netherlands, they did it the other way around. They went from junior woman under 23 to elite and held something back for the end. And Tibor Del Grosso just aura farming here at the finish.
Oh, yeah.
Home run.
Yeah.
Call in the closer.
No,
nothing too big for him.
He did like 4 or 5 celebrations down the finish line. So yeah, I mean, it wasn't very questionable. By the time he took that start at the beginning of the lap, I mean, we knew what was going to happen at that point.
Think San Diego Padres might put a call in for a new closer there, or
I mean, closer's a pitcher, Noah, so maybe like a cleanup hitter.
Okay. Okay. Well, I thought he was making a home run salute there, but what do I know? So that much for the battle for the win. The two countries we kind of expected, but the battle for third place was also very interesting, I think. We had a lot of different countries in the mix there. In the beginning of the race, the United States were up there. They were in third place after the first 2 legs. At the end of the third leg, we had a bigger group there. Interesting to see Slovakia up there, confusing the announcer here, thinking it was the United States with their similar colors in the kit, I guess. But Slovakia going way out of sync, sending their fast guys first and then falling back a bit. And then you had the opposite directions, like US and Slovakia went a bit backwards. France, UK, and Great Britain, or France, Great Britain, and Belgium, they came forward after they sent a woman first in the race.
Yeah, I think Great Britain's kind of started making their play with Cam Mason halfway through the race.
Yeah.
Belgium had a good run at the end. It's interesting, last year they didn't perform all that well at the team relay. They clearly kind of reshuffled the team this year, ran a more cohesive team, probably stronger riders, and they saw a decent result in third place.
I think what made the difference here for Belgium today, getting third, were 2 riders. Compared to last year, Fleur Moors was a lot stronger. She is one of the contenders for the women's under 23 world title come Sunday. She delivered a good lap. And secondly, the most surprising rider was their junior woman, Zita Peter. She held up really, really well. And ultimately, like, it's a relay and you should never point out one person here for it. But if you look at the French, they had 2 things not going their way. Lali Pichon, she didn't deliver a flawless lap. She struggled a bit and lost there to Belgium. And then in the final lap, Martin Gos-Lambert needed to go into the pits while leading in that group, lost that time. And then from there, it was game over for France, 5th place in the end.
Yeah, anytime you need to pit in this event, I mean, you're out of the running at that point.
Yeah.
You can't, there's really no opportunity to gain back that time.
And if you build on that, I think Great Britain, like last year, they got quite some shit. Oh, we're not taking a woman elite, and now we're also without a chance in the relay, and they perform really well. Mm-hmm. And this year, they don't have any woman under 23. They field 2 junior women who are also not at the top of their fields. It's not like these riders are 1 and 2 in the junior woman. They're both contenders for a top 10, so they're very good riders, don't get me wrong. But if you compare that to Italy, you field Giorgia Pellizotti and Ferry, then you can just see the quality difference I'm getting at. But once again, even with this team, which on paper is perhaps not the best one, they do perform really well. I think 4th place is an overperformance for that team, and every single one of their riders delivered a really good lap, and that's like the 3rd or 4th year in a row that they do that in the relay.
Yeah, I think that's a really good point, that coming into it, if you picked them to get 4th, I think we'd all be surprised. But they do every year put in a good effort that somehow produces a performance that is outside of what you would expect to see. So very interesting to see this today. Again, Netherlands, no surprise. I mean, we all kind of expected that going in. And then, 2nd through 4th, about what you would expect to see in some kind of order, those riders. So, I mean, it was a good event. It was super fun to watch, and it produced, good winners, good podium.
I'm still not sure that we have seen the perfect team order finalized yet, and that's the exciting thing, right? In these events, I get the comments from the people oh, it would be much clearer from a viewer's perspective if you just have a fixed order in which they need to go. But at the same time, the beauty of these relay events, I think, is when you have these tactical components to it, and the coaches can really leave their mark by deciding who goes when, what order do we do, what type of rider do we put where. Hey, maybe this rider that we have that's good over the entire race is not that good over one lap. Like, that was kind of my observation watching Vietzi. I thought, like, yeah, if Agostinacchio could have raced here because he's out with an infection, like, then Italy would have been even closer, because Agostinacchio over one lap is better than the diesel of Vietzi, for instance, and that's what I like about this event.
Yeah, I think if you took away the opportunity to shuffle the cards how the coaches want to do, that takes an element of the entire event out and probably makes it worse, honestly.
Yeah.
So giving the opportunity to shuffle, try different tactics, we're going to continue to see things evolve, and it's cool to see. I mean, I don't think that we've hit the ultimate plan yet with putting women first, putting men last. Who knows, right? Every year is a little different. The U.S. got out to a really fast start, running one of their faster guys today. I mean, was that a good plan going in? Absolutely. I mean, you get to the front and then you can kind of race from the front. Racing from the back's another thing, right? Can you kind of front load with a little bit of your slower riders, get yourself some open road, so to speak? I mean, there's two way different things to go about there.
And that's two different coaching philosophies as well. And you see that in all the relays, like in swimming, for instance, as well, where they have the relays where you just decide who goes where. Like the medley relay at some point was totally free. You can decide who goes on what stroke and what order which stroke goes by yourselves. And that just gave so many possibilities. And some coaches went like, oh, we like to come from a chasing position. Others like to come from, we like to be at the front and carry the race. And then there's the people who are convinced you need to be somewhere in between, because if you fall too far back, you lose all belief that you're going to come back. So I think that's really an interesting dynamic here with these tactical kind of pieces that form an event like this, and it creates a dynamic. I do think that maybe like on the broadcast they can make it a bit more clearer, like, hey, okay, next up for Belgium is this rider, or hey, Belgium still has these people to come, or hey, Slovakia still has two fairly slow riders relative to the rest to come. So it's just more clear when you're watching on the bigger screens what is actually happening.
Yeah, I didn't have an opportunity to watch any because I'm running around taking photos, but I agree. I mean, I think the next phase in cyclocross in general is to make the TV broadcast more cohesive, provide a better story, because there's a lot of missing aspects of the race that get missed in the broadcast. And so if the UCI and their broadcasting partners can take that step and add that information, I think you could see this sport start evolving kind of like F1 did, when you get on-screen graphics and different things happening. And this is a great example of that, right? You can give a lot of information that provides context to the race on the screen that makes it just a better watching experience.
And adding to that, like, this is the perfect event for that. I was always a big sucker for the team time trial world championships, because you had the team dynamic and all of that going on. And here I feel the broadcast is good, and you have, okay, you get some shots from the people warming up, but there's so much more to that. Like, they were supposed to warm up in the mixed zone, but the mixed zone was not nearly big enough for 13 teams having 5 or 6 riders warming up in there. So people just sprawled out and were at the gas station, in the laundry machine. Like, that's missed potential. Like, if you just give them a nice and clear big zone, and also tell them, like, hey, after the race finishes, you need to stay here. Then you just put a camera on the Italian team watching, like, oh, this is like tense, or it might some year come down to a sprint, like in Tabor. And then we would like to see on the shoulder, like, oh, this team celebrates, the other one is maybe sad. Put the coaches in the coach box at the pit. Like, tell them, for the World Championships mixed relay, you need to be in that box there, and we have a camera there. This is the one race where coaches have kind of the role as protagonists. They're always important, right? They always influence stuff like performance environment. Skills coaches are out here pre-riding with their riders, doing their job. But this is, like, as always, more a coaching role, and it would be great to also see that tied into here.
Yeah, I mean, it's taking that team aspect and putting it into cyclocross, and I think that's something that's generally missing, because it's not really a team sport in that way, but you can make it a team sport in this event, and it'd be cool if they could figure out ways of doing that. That's a great example, putting the coaches together and putting a camera on them and watching them the whole time, forcing riders not to leave at the end. Yeah, I agree. I think that would add another benefit to the whole event and altogether.
Then finally, Lucinda Brandt made a comment about this event, saying that she's not necessarily against it, but has some sort of problem with this only being a world championship or a championship event. I mean, we know the French, for instance, also organize this at their national championships with their regional teams. Jarry raced that, for instance, and Revol.
That's cool.
How do you feel about that? And do you think that this should also become an event at a number of the World Cups that have youth races?
That would be interesting. I don't know. I mean, one of the things I was thinking when I was taking podium pictures was they're getting rainbow jerseys that they're never going to wear.
Yeah.
And so if you take that idea and you apply it to Junior World Cups, whatever, now the team that wins the rainbow jersey can wear the rainbow jersey that year. It's starting to rain, and you're getting like another added part of the weekend. Now, do you need to add a 6th race to a World Cup?
Well,
Sunday?
it would have to be on Saturday, because if you do it on the Sunday, there's not enough time in the schedule.
Yep.
But that also adds to like an overall point, and we're not going to have that discussion here right now, but how does the World Cup kind of progress itself, right? Like, there is calls, and I can really agree with them, especially at the Christmas period, that the women under 23 also deserve their own standalone World Cup events, because at the Christmas it's just so full that there's women under 23, especially in the Netherlands and Belgium, who miss out on the selection at the expense of elite riders. So I can see that point as well, like how does the World Cup reform? But it would have to be on a Saturday, because there's not enough room on a Sunday. And like you're already seeing now, right? Like Lucinda Brandt said, I contemplated racing, but ultimately I decided I didn't want to do a 1-lap all-out effort the day before my race. I like to stick to my openers. She was just on course now doing them.
Yep.
And if you do it on the race of the World Cup itself, I can tell you it will be very hard to field that team.
Yeah, and I maybe it's even that you have 3 of those events throughout the year, and you don't have the 8 or 6 or whatever the number is. I mean, there's a way to work it in, right? And do it at least one other time than at this World Championship, so that you can give the opportunity to the team that wins to wear the jersey.
And one thing, like to just end it on what I would be fan of for the World Cup, for instance, is like their final weekend is a great opportunity to make it like a double-header weekend.
Yep.
Not like Maasmechelen and Hoogheide, but just one place. You do the women on Saturday, you do the other races on Sunday, or maybe you put both elite races there and you just mix the relay in somewhere and just kind of add more allure to that final weekend in a sense. So that's just some thoughts from today's conversations. It's starting to rain now. I think we've had all our points exactly in time before our camera gear gets destroyed.
Mine's underneath a nice podium over here, so I'm okay. I'll survive.
Mine
Maybe
is
not on the walk back.
Mine is not, so that will be it here from Hulst. Thank you so much, Patrick.
Yeah, thanks, Noah.
We'll be back tomorrow and on Sunday, of course, to cover all the racing. Thanks for listening. Goodbye.